Well, let's get started with level 2 PowerPoint basics, and we're going to jump right in. I'm going to open up my downloaded version of PowerPoint. I'm on the new screen, and the first thing we want to look at is how to search for and download an online theme. So, if we open up the base application, we're going to see a bunch of wonderful themes in there, but as you notice here, we can go ahead and search for a theme on the main screen. So I'm going to go ahead and type technology, and it's going to bring up any theme that associates any sort of metadata, any sort of description with a technology theme. So you see we have this theme. I'm going to pick the first one, business technology. And to download, all I have to do is hit create. So we're going to use this throughout our presentation today. Let's go ahead and continue on. That's an online theme. Before we do, though, I just want to remind you that you can certainly head out to Google, okay, which will bring that over here. And we can, come here. We can do PowerPoint themes. Here's the PowerPoint themes free. And of course, some of these are trusted. Here's a Microsoft site, so you can trust that for additional themes. And then it moves down into, you might even find some sponsored items coming up. This is my second search, so those have disappeared. But you'll find some things here. Now, remember, just a quick reminder from a security standpoint, be careful where you're downloading free stuff from the internet. It may have some associated malware or other things that you really want to be careful of. Moving back to our presentation, I'm going to go to slide 2 here, and we're going to look at inserting symbols. So there are a bunch of symbols that are available to insert within PowerPoint. So as you'll notice, the insert symbols is actually grayed out, and that's because I've got to be in some sort of text box where I can insert. So if you notice, I'm in the text box now. I can come to symbols. These are all the common symbols that you might use. And as you'll notice here, we can change to different types. There's Latin supplement. There's just a bunch of different symbols that are available here for your use within PowerPoint. Now, recently used, so this is going to be a list of ones that I've used recently. I'm going to go ahead and hit this phone icon as an example, and I'm going to insert that in. And if you notice, it'll go with the color palette that's there. I can always, change the color if I'd like, just by highlighting it and changing the color, okay? The fill color. So to do that, you'll notice that I've highlighted this. Let me just do that again. I'm going to use the shortcut bar here, and notice I can change to another color. So that is inserting symbols. A lot of symbols to play with. So just get in and give it a go. Inserting a hyperlink. So let's say that in this list here, we want to insert a hyperlink. Now, pretty easy to do. All I have to do is just start typing the link that I want to, not Google, but google.com. And you'll notice when I hit the enter key, the link comes up. Now, if you do not want the link, you just want it to be referencing, to that URL, you can easily come in here, right click, and choose remove link. Next, let's look at how to convert text to SmartArt. So I've got this bulleted list here, and frankly, it's just a little plain. So what I will do is I'll turn this into SmartArt so it's more representable. I highlight the data that I want, normally within a numbered list, within a bulleted list. I'm going to right click here, go down to convert to SmartArt, and I can convert to different SmartArts so that my list is more presentable, maybe more professional, and definitely to the user, more worthy of their time in viewing your presentation. So by the way, you can certainly just use the SmartArt and start with a blank SmartArt. And also once I convert it, I can come in here and simply choose to add additional items to my list. Now that we have our SmartArt, let's go ahead and do a little editing, a little formatting to make this even more presentable. So the first thing that I like to do, I'll highlight the SmartArt, come up to colors. I've got a lot of great color palettes that, again, are coming from the theme of my PowerPoint. So I can pick a palette that might work. I'm going to pick that color theme there. I can provide a different type of SmartArt style to it. So notice I'll get some previews as I mouse over. I tend to like that one. If I'm going to use this one, I'm definitely going to increase the font size and increase the item, item size if I can, utilizing the full screen. So, just the full slide. So I'll move that up. Whoop, I'll move that up. There we go. And then I can simply enlarge in the SmartArt, get it to fit on the page, and then center to the slide. I keep calling it a page. Now, not only can we, provide a, colorization to the entire thing, but I can also pick just one item, right click on that item, and make changes. Everything from changing this shape, maybe I want this shape to somehow stand out. Maybe I want to use different shapes for each step, whatever the case may be. I can change the background. I can change the style. Accordingly, we'll change the style of that one. So now it's just plain. I'm going to right click again. I'm going to, let's change the fill color. So I'll go ahead and change the fill color for this one. I can even use an eyedropper to pick a color. Maybe I want this to match this color up there. We'll right click again. We can add an outline. I'm going to go ahead and add a nicely contrasted outline. You see it there. More information with the outline. I can choose a different weight. I can choose a different style of outline. And, on certain ones, and then have a really customized product for my viewers to take in. Now, all we did with SmartArt here is simply modify shapes. But let's say we don't want to use a SmartArt and we just want to insert a shape. So we're going to go here to another slide. I'm going to come to insert, and I have shapes here. Now, one of the secrets to shapes is if you notice right here, you're not going to see a perfect circle. You're not going to see a perfect square. And we tend to want those. So I'm going to choose this rectangle. And as I hit and hold the Shift key, I'm going to be able to get a perfect square. I'm going to do that again for the circles. So I'm going to choose the oval. I'm going to hit and hold the Shift key while I left click and drag to get that perfect circle that I can then resize, okay? Or again, keep that perfectly symmetrical. So let me go ahead and make our circle big. I'm going to just put it here. And we'll look at some other things that we can do. Now, first of all, this is very similar and frankly is exact to what we just did with SmartArt. It is a shape, just like the shapes in SmartArt. So we can come in here. We can pick a different fill color if we'd like. We can change the outline to something, definitely going to probably want more weight on that outline. There's an outline. Shape effects. So if I wanted to apply a shadow to this, I can, inner shadow, outer shadow, a little hard to see with the black background, etc. Matter of fact, let's go ahead. We'll copy this. We'll go to this slide here. We'll right click real quick. We'll format the background, and we'll say, instead of the solid fill, let's go ahead and grab a white for the background here. And then we'll paste in our circle. We'll come back up to shape format. And now we can look at shape effects. So there's a shape effect. Let's go and look at shadowing again. So we can see that there's some shadowing that starts to happen. Many effects. I would just highly suggest that you come in and play. Now I'm going to take us back to our shape just so we have that dark background. I'm going to move it down here. And I can easily apply text to a shape just by double clicking. And if you notice, there is text in a shape. It is just like any other text. I can go ahead and change the text color to anything that I'd like. I can increase its font size to fill in the shape, etc. Now, one of the things I really like to do, I think it's really creative. It adds to the presentation. For example, here we have cocc.edu. I've got a shape here. I'm going to click on this shape and I am going to provide a picture as a background, a picture. So I'm actually going to choose insert a picture. Now, what I've done, since this says cocc.edu, is I have downloaded the logo for the college. So I'm going to go from file. That way it searches my local computer here. And it'll start normally in your pictures folder. In my case, I'm going to go to downloads. I've downloaded that right here. So here it is. I'm going to double click it. And if you notice, now that background is in fact the COCC logo. Now, definitely from here, just a quick reminder on contrast. I'm going to want to change that text just so it has a little bit better contrast, and I probably would move it around as well. Now, if you're like me, you like to have things align well on the page, get things to fit, and give your viewers a great presentation. And the best way to do that is to come into the View tab. Now, you'll notice currently I do have the ruler on, so if I wanted to, I could go ahead and align that. And you'll notice as I do this, a little hard to see. Matter of fact, let me grab right here so it'll come in the magnifier there. You're gonna see this line that aligns up. I'm going to come here, and again, I can align on the sheet as well. On the slide, a little hard to see again, but there's that line, so I know that this is perfectly centered on the slide. Now, if you're not into rulers, I'm going to turn off the ruler. I can go to grid lines. I can use the grid lines here. You'll notice that they're equidistant throughout the slide. And again, I find this to be really easy to hit those marks, as to what would be aligned on the sheet. Also, there are guides. The guides are, just simply the centering of the slide. I don't tend to use these much, but I think it's important that you understand that they do exist and, that you can use them. Maybe, you want to put this over here and you want to add another SmartArt over here that you want to have aligned. Now, sometimes you'll find that either the SmartArt or the existing shapes aren't going to work for you. You want something custom, you want something unique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into shapes here. I'm going to grab that oval tool. I'm going to create a shape here. I'm going to go ahead again and insert shapes. I'm going to grab, say, the arrow tool, okay, and I'm going to create an arrow that way. Now I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it in. At this point, I'm going to take this one here, and I am going to turn it exactly 180 degrees, and then put it over here. Now, once I have that, let's say this is my custom shape. I don't want to have to move and align these together all the time, so I'm going to click the first one to highlight it, hit and hold the Control key while I click the other two. Then I'm going to right-click here, and I'm going to group these shapes. So if you notice now, this is one shape. So you understand that if you make a mistake, I'm going to go ahead and align this. I'll just align it vertically there. If you did make a mistake, all you have to do is right-click, group, and because it knows that these are group shapes, I can ungroup. I can make a change to whatever shape I want to make the change to. A little darker green there. And then again, hit and hold the first one, hit Control. Looks like I need to undo that. There we go. Hit Control, right-click again, group these shapes, and you have a shape that you can put text in or you can use as a single shape. So although more commonly used in Microsoft Word, we may want to insert a header and footer to identify our presentation without having that show up when we give the presentation. So in that case, we're going to come to Insert. We're going to come right over here to the text section to Header and Footer. And now we can add a header and footer to our presentation. I'm going to say Presentation by me. I can add a slide number here. I can add a date and time. I can pick the format, etc. Let's go ahead and do all of these. And by the way, if I don't want this to show up on the title slide, then I would simply click there. I'll click apply, and there is the header footer. Now, if you notice, I applied these to only, the slide that I was on. I'm going to apply this to all. And now you will see as I go through, I've got this footer here, I've got the information that I need, and it will present when I give the presentation. So our final outcome for level 2 is going to be to provide a slide transition between slides. So I tend to come all the way back up to the top when I'm doing that. Here are transitions. We can just look at a few of these. Find one we like. I highly suggest if you're going to use a slide transition, try to keep it consistent throughout the whole presentation. So this seems like it matches. Sometimes, if you're giving, say, an aviation presentation, you will find a lot more in here, and you might find something, like a fly-through, or an airplane that would work with your presentation. Now, once we do that, we have some effect options that we can do if available. In this case, random bars, you'll notice it's currently vertical. I'm going to change it to horizontal. I can apply a sound. I'm not a fan of a sound, but you can apply a sound to your presentation for the slide transition if you'd like. Okay. Again, it depends on your audience. If I'm giving a presentation to a younger audience, I'm definitely going to provide a sound or something to recapture them. I can also choose how quick or how slow this slide transition works by just changing this number here. And if you'll notice, it gets slow. Be careful, it can get too slow. You just want to, use something that works. It's also a good segue as it's transitioning to start talking about your next slide. Notice here, I'm going to apply to all. That means when I run this presentation, it is going to give that slide transition to all of the slides. All right, that's it for level 2. Take care. We'll see you in level 3.